There's a battle brewing in Philadelphia between the federal government and a judge. I feel like I'm back in old-timey times, like it's the American Revolution. This has to do with some stubborn little facts that Donald Trump doesn't like, that our founding fathers owned slaves. Yes, Donald Trump woke up one day like Rip Van Winkle and said, there was slavery? Take it down. Use a crowbar if you have to. Literally had the Park Service take a crowbar to an exhibit that celebrated and made tribute to 9 slaves, including one that escaped from being owned by our founding father, George Washington. Yes, historical perspective is important to understand these things. Donald Trump doesn't want to understand these things. And now there's a battle between the federal judge, Judge Roof, who had to issue yet another order on top of her order from 2 days ago, to make sure that the exhibits are returned to their original way as they were before mid-January when Donald Trump ripped them down. Donald Trump said, well, I appealed it. Would you believe Donald Trump is going to an appellate court to try to convince them that under a 1950 agreement that the National Park Service has with Philadelphia and that he has with the American people as president, that he's allowed to rewrite history and take down plaques that commemorate the fact that human beings owned other human beings in the United States. He really feels this is the hill to die on, that he's going to go to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, to argue for the defacing, the graffiti, the scarring of a national monument, Independence Hall Center. This is out in front of, let's put this in perspective. This monument to the president's house where Adams and Washington live, next to the Liberty Bell, is right across the courtyard from the reproduction of Independence Hall, where our nation's Declaration of Independence and Constitution were written. We're not talking about some mall exhibit in middle America. We're talking about Philadelphia. And the fact that she has to issue, after having raked Trump and the Department of Justice over the coals 2 days ago in her scathing order comparing Donald Trump to a low-level chief magistrate and comparing his administration to George Orwell's Ministry of Truth, you'd think they'd know better that this judge wasn't going to back off. Sure, Donald Trump went for an appeal, but it hasn't been blocked. The order has not been stayed by the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, at least at the time of this recording. She hasn't stayed it either. Let's catch up with this case and another one filed in Massachusetts by conservationists, by those who enjoy and love national parks and don't want to see them defaced by this president. It's now pending in Massachusetts District Court in order to stop Donald Trump from making good on his threats in March of 2025 with his executive order that he was going to rewrite history. No, says America. No, says we the people. You're on Midas Touch and Legal AF. I'm Michael Popak. Let's get to the heart of this particular matter. Has to do with something near and dear to my heart. I've been going to Independence Hall and that particular area in Philadelphia since I was in short pants. I lived on the Jersey Shore. We went there regularly on class trips, all through my elementary school days and beyond. We bought my wife's wedding dress in Philadelphia. We love Philadelphia, and not just the cheesesteaks, the history. How many times have I toured Betsy Ross's house or Constitution Hall or Independence Hall or the things around it, the first meeting places and Carpenter's Hall and all this other amazing stuff. I never thought for a minute that Donald Trump would try to take a big, giant magic marker, Sharpie, and rewrite history. Remember, we reported a year ago. It's been a year, a little bit, about a month less than a year, when Lindsay Halligan, yes, the disgraced short-time prosecutor, no longer in the Department of Justice, but her first job in the Trump administration was to work inside of the White House to rewrite history at the Smithsonian and all of their dozen of museums in Washington. Donald Trump wasn't impeached twice. You know how I know that? Because it's not in the exhibit in the Smithsonian any longer. Rewrote history. Anything Donald Trump didn't like. Why do we have to talk about slavery so much? Wait till they get to the Museum of the African American Experience. What are they going to do there? I can only imagine. No, I don't want to imagine. That's why these lawsuits have been filed. So Judge Roof, as I reported, citing to George Orwell 2 days ago, told Donald Trump, get your mitts, your greasy little hands off of our national pride and our memorials and restore it to the way it was immediately. And then she woke up today and realized on the 18th that they hadn't done it. So she had to issue a second order. Let me read to you from both orders and then tell you where we're at with the stay and the appeal. And a very interesting twist with a Trumper sitting in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals and whether he's going to recuse himself or not in the form of Emil Bovee. Who would get this case by random assignment, potentially. Busy days, big goals, but no time to cook? I've been using Factor. Fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you can eat well without the planning or cooking. One of my favorites lately is the garlic herb salmon. It fits perfectly into my February routine with lean protein, colorful vegetables, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats, plus no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. Whether you're focused on healthier eating, calorie management, or getting more protein, Factor makes it simple. They rotate over 100 meals every week, including high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, ready to eat salads, and the new Muscle Pro collection for strength and recovery. Everything is always fresh, never frozen, ready in about 2 minutes. No prep, no stress. I use this and you should too. Head to factormeals.com/legalaf50off and use code LegalAF50off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only, varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active. Let's go over the new order. The new order, just out, hot off the presses, no pun intended, is signed by Judge Cynthia Roof. It says now, this 18th day of February, upon consideration of the defendant's failure to comply with the court's order on the 16th, order to forthwith, black bold caps, follow terms and conditions of the order. It is hereby ordered, black bold caps, that defendant shall comply with the terms of the order by restoring the president's house site to its physical status before they tore everything down. Now, in her earlier order, and I mean just 2 days ago, she repeatedly referenced George Orwell and said, no, just because you're in power doesn't mean you get to rewrite the facts